everybody. Apparently I have no idea what I'm doing today. Can you hear me okay? I swear my lips aren't hot pink. You know, they look like I have tons of hot pink lipstick on. It's just the way this camera on my computer is picking me up. Okay. Are we here? I don't see me yet. I just see, man, that's a big lag. Now you can hear, but you can't see me. There we are. Okay. Now you can see me and you can hear me. We just have a super bad lag today. Okay, so we are ready and I'm really nervous. And as you saw, we have, I'm doing a 12 by 16 inch canvas today. I thought about cheating and going with a small canvas today, but then I was like, oh, I should probably do a 12 by 16 and not be cheap about it. So this is a canvas board, and I did put down a pretty heavy layer of matte medium on it because these canvas boards, these are like the Blick Economy Value Pack boards, and the texture is super, super hard. So they leave a lot of the little white spots. So I did put down some matte medium so that I don't have to struggle with that so much. So that's what I'm going to be painting on today. And how we're going to do it, since this is our first one, guys, please be patient with me if I really suck at this. As we do these more and more, you know, we'll get a little bit more efficient in how we do this, and I'll kind of know what to expect a little bit more. It's just kind of hard right now, being it's my first time painting live and I have no idea what I'm painting, so that's like a double whammy, so I'm really nervous. But I think what we're gonna do is I am going to ask you for suggestions for, you know, different elements of a painting, and I will want you guys to, in all caps, give me your suggestion and then pick a number between 2 and 12. Don't do it yet. Don't anybody do that yet. I have some dice here, and if you've never played Farkle, you should play Farkle. This has been one of my favorite games since I was a kid. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 dice and I'm going to roll them. I'm not going to show you what the numbers are. You guys will give me an element. I'll give you some direction, you know, kind of tell you what type of element I'm looking for. You will tell me an idea and pick a number between 2 and 12. That means 12 today. And whoever guesses the closest to the number on my dice without going over, I will pick your suggestion. If more than one person picks the same number, I'll go with the person who said it first. Okay? Yeah, you guys better be gentle with me. Don't be brutal on me. I'm really disappointed that Mike Voiles isn't here, but at the same time, I was a little afraid that he was going to tell me to paint a frozen spider web. But Mike, if you're out there and you're listening, you can tell me to paint a frozen spider web if you want. Just know I'm a little bit afraid. Okay, so I think most of you have been to a viewing party before, so I'll kind of also treat it a little bit like a viewing party. So I'll show you what we're going to paint next week. We can chat, you can ask questions, whatever. I will give as much instruction as possible about what I'm painting today, so you guys are free to paint along with me. I'll tell you what brushes I'm using, what techniques I'm using, paint colors, all of that to the best of my ability, since I'll be making up the vast majority of this on the fly. So, because we do have a bit of a lag today, and I don't know why, usually it's not this bad, not this early anyway, when I roll the dice and say, okay, go, I'm probably going to be like completely silent for a couple of minutes while I wait for your suggestions to roll in. So if you're sitting there watching me just stare at you, it's just because of the lag. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice right now. You can't see that, can you? Let me make sure. Nope. Okay. Okay, I have my number. I'm not touching the dice. They're over there. So tell me what type of a painting. So by what type of a painting, I mean, are we doing a landscape? Are we doing a still life? You know, are we doing abstract? Those types of things. So don't give me anything specific. Don't say like, you know, paint a horse running through a field and just tell me, is it a landscape? Is it a still life? Is it, you know, something like that? And make sure to put it in caps and make sure to give me your number somewhere between 2 and 12. I'm still not touching the dice. We have Donna with a landscape and a number 4, Tan with landscape and number 7, landscape and -9. Oh, just 9. Landscape with a water element number 7. Man, lots of landscapes. Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Okay, I will show you what our number was, and it's number 7. Yay! And we had 2 people pick number 7. You all picked landscapes. One said, let's see, Deb said landscape with water element, but we've clearly got landscape covered. So we're gonna do a landscape. Hopefully my camera doesn't lag too much today like it has in the past a little bit. I cleared off a bunch of stuff off of my computer. I really need a new computer. So I'm hoping that me clearing off my computer a bit will help not get so much lag like we did in the last couple of viewing parties. Okay, so we're gonna do a landscape. Yeah. Good. I was so afraid somebody was gonna be like, paint an animal. And I was gonna be like, no. Okay, so I'm just gonna go by popular vote here. Should I pick random colors or should I let you guys choose? Don't judge my mess over here, by the way. I'm not a very tidy person. Okay, there's my white paint. Gotta establish the white paint already. Am I just picking my own colors then? Nobody has any? Okay, I'm gonna pick some random colors. I'm just reaching into my big old grocery bag of paint. And I'm gonna grab trying to find 2 tubes of paint that are full. Let's see what we got. Just close my eyes and pick them. That's what I'm doing. I don't think that cadmium yellow and raw sienna are strong enough colors to hold a painting on their own. So let's throw one more in there. Diox. Deb says Diox. All right, I'll find some Diox. Okay. No more pink. Tan's over the pink. Okay, so we have Diox. We have, is that upside down for you guys? It is, huh? Okay. We have Diox, raw sienna, cadmium yellow, that's my new tube. I have a tube that's almost gone. And titanium white. It's kind of an interesting mix for a landscape, isn't it? All right, so that's what I'm going to go with. Let's see. I'm going to start just by painting in a sky. I'm going to use my 1-inch flat brush. You guys know the routine. Wetting it in my jar. And I guess I need some paint on my palette, don't I? Let's see. Let's just put out all of the colors and see what happens. Can you guys see the little bits of Mr. Moon hair on my canvas? He's not even here anymore. There's still cat hair for days. All right. Raw sienna. And I'm going to try not to watch chat. So if you need something and I don't see it, just keep it in mind for when I come back. You can say it all again if you need to. Or if it's really important, Vince can text me and yell at me. Tell me to pay attention. Those are kind of cool colors together, actually. I'm not hating those. And I know that, well, the raw sienna mixes super, super nice with deep violet. So we'll see how it does with the Diox. Some of these tubes are very stuck. Okay, so I'm going to start just with a sky. And I'm going to use some matte medium. See, guys, this is why I can't get this bottle open. This is why I edit my videos so heavily. You guys would be so bored if I just showed you everything I recorded. Okay, so I'm going to get some matte medium. You don't have to use matte medium. It's my preference when I'm using all heavy body paint. I really like the consistency of the paint with the matte medium more so than with water. I'm just going to pick up some white, not a ton of white. Maybe I'll come in and I'll grab some of my, what is that, raw sienna on one corner and maybe some cad yellow on the other corner. And I'm just going to do my little back and forth thing. We'll see what happens. I should have done this at the bottom instead. I don't know why I just started right at the top like a dummy. That's okay. I got some ideas. Just breaking up any lines in there. No hard lines in the sky. Which is funny because next week I'm actually telling you guys to leave your sky with lines in it. So there's not a right and wrong. There's just the look that you're going for at that moment. Turn the canvas over. I know that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to bring this up higher, just a bit higher, and then I'm going to turn it over. This might be a really repulsive painting. I'm kind of excited about that. And now I'm just going to get white because I'm going to start transitioning into that purple. I still have those colors on there. I just want to lighten that a bit so I don't get a huge grossness where the purple meets the yellow, because I know that Diox and cadmium yellow, they don't mix as beautifully as like yellow oxide mixes with Diox really, really nicely. And cadmium yellow mixes really nicely with deep violet. I just wiped my brush off. I didn't clean it. More matte medium, more white, and a little bit of Diox because it's pretty intense. What is happening there? Cat hair, of course. God, Mr. Moon, tormenting me from afar. So Mr. Moon is perfectly fine. He's just not here with me right now. He's at my house. Some of you may have seen that on Instagram, that he's at my house now. I need some more white. If you guys get totally bored, please tell me. I don't want you guys to be bored. And some more white, some more Diox. So sometimes when I'm not sure what I want to paint, There's a guy riding down the street right now on like a tractor. That was weird. Sometimes when I'm not sure what to paint, I'll do this. Just kind of grab some random colors and start seeing what happens. And sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes I get, you know, ideas that I'm really excited about. I'm just picking up matte medium here and just kind of smoothing it down into this area. So I don't want a big stripe where the colors changed. And I never paint sitting down like this, so I can't really see what I'm doing because, yeah, I'm a standing painter. I'm going to take that down quite far. Since there's still a little bit of that color in my brush, it is mixing with that Diox a bit. It's actually not too bad of a color, is it? Can you guys, yeah, you can see it a bit. All right, more white, more Diox this time. Let's move this down a bit. We'll make it darker up here. That was just matte medium. Maybe someday I'll figure out how to do my whole setup like we do, you know, like I do in the regular videos. Maybe I'll figure out how to do that and manage it live. But today the thought of even trying to figure out how to do that, kind of scares me. So I'm not even gonna consider it. Just a little bit of white, much more of the Diox, maybe even just a little bit more. Oh, I thought my blank section was bigger than it is. So do you all use matte medium? Or are you people who think, I'll just do it without? Let me know if you like matte medium or if you refuse to use it, or if you just don't use it, not refuse to use it. Because it can do some magical things. Like, well, that paint's still pretty wet, I was gonna say. But you can take a color and then use matte medium and blend it right over top of a completely dry color. And it will look like the colors are blending, even though one of them was already dry and it's not blending. That's getting to that point right there. Love matte medium. Okay, good. Maybe if I cleaned my brush off, this would... I'll clean my brush off. Especially when I'm painting for myself, a lot of times I don't clean my brush off very often. Sometimes I'll go through an entire painting without ever cleaning my brush off once. Okay, so I cleaned my brush, dried out on my paper towel, just matte medium, and I'm going to feather that out. There we go. My brush might have still been just a little bit too wet, but that's a little better. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. Let's flip it over and see what it looks like the other direction. All right, so we've got the purple at the top now, and I have an idea. But this is your guys' painting, so if you have a different idea, I'll go with your idea. But I do have a little bit of an idea. Let me make sure my brush is cleaned out, and then we can chat for a minute and get some other ideas going while that just dries a little bit. because there's quite a bit of matte medium on there, so it's going to take a few minutes. So, and then if any of you are painting along, then you can go ahead and get caught up. Let's go ahead and go back to here. Yay! Okay, so we can totally just like chat. Now all of a sudden I'm like brain dead. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Like I've never done this before. If you guys have questions about anything, I know we skipped the viewing party last week. Last weekend was just nuts. So if you had any questions about the finger painting, which I'm sure nobody did, but if you did, we can talk about that. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I will show you. Well, hello, Kathy. We're glad you could make it. Maybe I'll show you now. Do you want to see next week's painting right now? I'm going to wait and let you guys answer for our long delay. Yeah, we'll do the next element in just a minute, Donna. Oops. Close my matte medium before it all dries out. Yes, Tan wants to see. All right, I'll show you. Tan answered for everybody. Okay, so next week we're gonna paint. I've been asked a lot for sunrises lately. Lots and lots of requests for sunrises. Ever since I did golden hour, I get tons of requests for sunrises. And then the other element in here I've been asked for quite a few times, so I thought I'll just kill two birds with one stone and do both of them together. So this is next week. So we have a sunrise and a lavender field and some sun rays, and see the stripes in the sky like I told you we were gonna have in next week's painting. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think. And we'll go back here. Man, the delay today is so long. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some ideas going for another element. So if you weren't here for the beginning, when I told you how we're doing the element voting, I will tell you again. Hang on, let's see. I really need like a stagehand who can click all of the buttons for me. Okay, let me take my big old face away. So here's what we have so far. We decided we're going to do a landscape, and oh, I'm so glad you guys all love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We decided we're going to do a landscape, and I just picked random colors: raw sienna, cad yellow, white, and then somebody, was it Deb Meadows, suggested diox. So that's what we have here. So the next element, tell me what kind of a landscape this is. And remember to write it in all caps and choose a number between 2 and 12. And by what type of a landscape it is, I mean, you know, is it a field? Is it a city? Is it water? You know, whatever. So just a type of a landscape. So don't do it just yet. I'm gonna roll my dice. And okay, I have my number and I'm not touching the dice anymore. I'm just gonna click over back to YouTube. Okay, so go. Tell me what type of a landscape and pick a number 2 through 12. We have water and number 9 from Tan, city and number 8 from Donna, water and 11 from Deb, country road and 5, city and 5. Any more? Any more? No? Okay, well, I guess that's 5, and we have 7 people watching. The other 2 are me and Vince, so. Okay, so you all went over. Vince, you don't get to vote. Okay, so you all went over, and let me see if you can't even see. So we had 3. 2 of you chose number 5, and that was Kathy and Eileen, and I got Kathy's first with a winding road. So we're gonna do a country winding road. Ooh, exciting. Okay, and we'll put me back there. So I like that you said specifically country, because that kind of fits in with the idea that I had a bit. So I'm going to push this up so that you can see the bottom here. I'm going to throw some burnt umber in there. I really should keep my paint a little bit nicer rather than, I keep all of my heavy bodies in my big old grocery sack. So. And then when my watercolors in it and everything, this poor bag, it's a testament to its strength, that's for sure, but it can weigh like, I swear, close to 100 pounds sometimes. And of course, I always make Vince carry it. So I'm looking for my burnt umber, which should just be right here because I use it a lot. What's that? Burnt sienna. I never use burnt sienna. Well, sometimes. All right, there it is. And let's see, I have a pencil, and this is pretty dry, I think. So I'm gonna sketch a road. I kind of like how in my sky here, you can see that it kind of swoops, it comes up. You know, the difference between the purple and the yellow, it kind of comes up and back down, and everything here kind of swoops that way. So I really like that, and I feel like that's kind of moving the eye in this type of direction. So I don't want to put my subject over here, or I don't want to lead with the road to over here, because there's really nothing to look at, and everything from this point on is focusing your attention this direction anyway. So I am going to stick with that. So I'm going to say, if my canvas is broken up into thirds, it's still quite wet, by the way, in some parts. If my canvas is broken up into thirds, that means that I would have kind of, you know, you probably can't see that. It's a very wet canvas. I'm trying to be gentle. Right about there and right about there. So I'm going to put like a little house right here. What do you guys think? If this is a country road, maybe there's a little house or something. It's just a very simple one, and I know you probably can't see that. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. It's very similar to the one we did in the Impressionist landscape. Just very typical, simple house. And then our winding road. I'm going to come from here. Remember how we make a road appear that it's winding and going into the distance rather than going straight up a hill. Especially if it's curved, we do that by making nice sharp curves. So like I'm going to come from here, I'm almost going vertical or horizontal, almost straight across. And then my curve, it's going to be very tight. It's a tight curve. Can you see that? If I curve it like this, like an S all the way down, it'll look curvy, but it'll also kind of look like it's going uphill. So I'm going to bring it back around that way. It's almost horizontal again. I'm going to bring it quite wide over, and then I'm going to curve it pretty tight again, but not as tight as before. And I'm going to bring it out like that. Let's see if I can scoot this over so you can see around my big old face. Now the other side is going to be just as important. Remember, in the distance, particularly if this is flat. So one of the reasons why a lot of times our roads look like they're going uphill is because there's not a lot of difference between the two sides as it goes back farther. So as it goes back farther, especially if it's flat, you probably can't see all of it. And so it looks like they completely meet. So you want to make sure that back here in the distance, it does meet. I'm starting at practically the exact same spot where I started the other one. As I come over, it's slowly going to start to be different. See how those two lines are a little bit farther apart? And at the curve, this inside one is going to be tighter than this outside one. So it's going to come out like that, and it's going to continue moving farther away in space from this one. Maybe not that far. That kind of makes it look like it's going up on a hill. But we can change any of it, so just sketch it out and then make adjustments. Now we're going to come back. Let's just take it almost straight off the edge there. Can you see that? We'll pretend like we can see it over here. My arm is sticking to my paper towel. I'm kind of a mess today, guys. And because of the angle, we actually can't see the other side of the road at all. This feels awkward to me right here. I'm actually going to tighten that curve a little bit more. See how right here I had it almost circular, and right here I pulled it in a little bit tighter so it's a little bit more oval. And I keep looking at my computer screen because I can see what I'm doing better there than right here in front of me. So that's how we make it look like it's going back into the distance. However, to me, this line still looks, it almost looks like this is coming around nicely, but this almost looks like it's going up a hill. So I think it's looking like that because I angled it up a little too high. So I'm just going to take it about straight across and let it disappear off the edge. And I think that that's probably going to look better. I think I like that. But I also think that this, again, is a little bit too rounded. I'm going to tighten that up a little. Okay, so I'm going to go check in on you guys because I can't see chat right now and see how you're feeling about that. And nobody has any comments about it. Okay, cool. So let's start painting it in. I am going to get some burnt umber. And I think the other colors I have out there are good. That'll give me a good ability to get variations in my browns and yellows, because I kind of feel like I want this to be like a grassy plain. So my idea, remember when I said that I had an idea, but I wanted to see what you guys said first. This feels very grassy, like one of those long, dry grass fields that you would see in the Midwest or something. Not that I've ever been to the Midwest, but I watch a lot of TV, so we'll call that experience enough. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch and wetting it in my jar. And I'm going to start back here. Now remember that as things get farther away from us, they get a little bit cooler, a little bit more grayed out, and as things get closer to us, they get a little bit darker, a little bit warmer. So that's another way we're going to create distance. If our road back here is just as dark as our road right here, it's going to feel very flat and strange. So you can achieve a good amount of distance just by the color that you use. So let's go ahead and start with, I'm going to grab just a little bit of Diox. It's not a lot. And I'm going to grab some Cad Yellow. Just mix them in there until I start to get kind of a brownish color. We'll add just a hint more Diox in there so it's cooler. It's a little on the cooler side than the cadmium yellow. And we'll put a poke of white in there. Okay, I think that's good. A little bit of brown. So see there, I have kind of a grayed out brown, substantially different from the burnt umber. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to come in here with the tip of my brush. I'm just kind of generally sketching it in. Not worried about the edges, you know, going over the edges. If this is a wild area, I know that a lot of times when we paint, we feel like we have to stay inside these lines, but these lines are just there as a guide for you. Consider what it is that you're painting. So I'm painting kind of an overgrown grassy field. Well, an overgrown grassy field wouldn't have these tight little corners on a dirt road, you know, on an old farm with long dry grasses growing all around it. That's just not what it would look like. So let your OCD go sit in the corner and you paint outside the lines and get that grassy field look. Don't tighten up. I didn't mix up enough color the first time. I did mix this just a hint darker. All right, there we go. Just kind of dashing it in there. Just kind of wiping sideways. See how my brush is about flat? And I'm just kind of wiping sideways. And it's so much nicer painting on this canvas board with that layer of matte medium under it. I'm going to pull a little bit more yellow, a little bit more burnt umber. I'm still going to keep a hint of white in there. I don't want this to get too overly dark just yet. Now let's throw a little bit of this raw sienna in there too, just to change up the color a bit. Different parts of the road might have different colors in it for one reason or another. A little matte medium, there we go. Also, don't worry about your colors being transparent. That's another thing I hear a lot. My colors are so transparent. What can I do? Well, honestly, what you can do is know which colors are transparent. And that's really what there is to it. Don't be surprised by transparent colors. Just know which ones are transparent and be able to plan for them. Picked up a little more of the raw sienna and some white and burnt umber. So this is a quite dark, quite warm color. A little bit of matte medium. Now notice what I started doing here while I was talking. So back here in the distance, we just kind of went side to side, really. It didn't matter what direction the road was going. We just kind of went side to side. Well, right here, where the road is directly in front of us, back here we don't see a lot of detail, but right here we will. And if I just go side to side, this is just going to look like a flat brown stripe. So what I'm doing is kind of coming from the edge and kind of almost swooping to the middle, and see how it's got a little bit of an arc to it. You know, sometimes dirt roads will be a little higher in the middle, have the ruts down to the side. So that's what I'm doing. Not even really particularly worried about filling in all of the canvas. Just working super loose. Same color, a little matte medium. And this is probably going to end up being a really horrible painting. Because I know I sound like I know what I'm doing, but then when it comes right down to it, I actually need a lot of practice and time to be able to do anything. I'm not ashamed of that, but That's why I don't do live paintings. Why did I just pick up white? I meant to pick up matte medium. That's why I don't do live paintings for, publicly, is because I get nervous. Just knowing that you guys are there right this minute, and then I don't have the ability to time lapse anything or edit out mistakes. And I'm like, they're gonna know that I suck. So yeah, you guys make me nervous. But it's okay. All right, I'm gonna grab a little bit of extra purple, and I think I'm gonna grab a bit of this raw sienna and mix it in over here because I want this corner to be darker. So these are just kind of composition, we'll call them rules, that I go by, and I don't know if they're actually composition rules, but they're things that make me feel confident in my compositions. And one of those is that dark colors helps keep your eye. Dark colors can help lead your eye around, tell you where to go, where not to go, where to exit or enter a painting. So the way that I feel about dark colors, if I have a light color right here, a very light color, then I feel like this is kind of, can you see that? If that's a very light color, I feel like it's kind of a drop-off point, right? I've got the road here and it's darker than everything else. So when I'm looking around, I don't feel like I'm going to see the road and then exit the painting from there. But I feel like the light color kind of makes me do that. So if this color is darker than this, I feel like it kind of bumps my eye and keeps it in. So as I come down the road, I have this natural dark color that kind of pushes me this way. So, and maybe that's just how I am. Maybe that's not a real, color theory, composition rule or whatever, but that's what makes sense to me. So that's why a lot of times in my paintings, you'll see dark colors around the edges, or, dark colors in specific areas, particularly close to the edge of a canvas, is because I'm trying to keep you in the painting. If your painting has exit points, and all paintings have entry and exit points, even if you can't really define where it is, all paintings do. But if your painting has too many exit points and not enough ways to keep the viewer's eye trapped in it, then I feel like people will look at it, see what they saw, and then they're done. But if there's a lot of really interesting things going on and elements that keep you trapped in the painting, then they're going to look at it for a little bit longer. So do you see what I mean about the dark corner? Do you feel like that kind of helps keep your eye moving from one side of the road to the next? Let me get my big old face off of there. So as we come around here, it's interesting because it's kind of a meandering road. I do feel like this is almost an uncomfortable exit point because the road would probably be quite wide right here, and we can only see a sliver of it. So I'm going to have to try and make sure that I come up with a way to keep this from being an exit point. If I would have been planning this for a tutorial, then I absolutely would have made sure that my road either was completely on the canvas here or maybe just a sliver of it was off, because this feels like an exit point to me. But I think that we can work with it. But then as we come down, this dark part to me feels like it's kind of pushing me in this direction. So, but I would like to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe I'm just completely making stuff up. It's possible. I just completely make stuff up all the time. Who else wants to suck like Jane does? Aw, thanks, Eileen. Yes, so it looks like we had a little activity in chat. Let me jump in there and see what you guys are saying. And we'll let this dry for a couple of minutes. If you're painting along with me, I'll give you a bit of an opportunity to catch up. So my OCD is having a temper tantrum about being in timeout. Who you got put in timeout, Deb? Good. I'm glad. Yeah, Eileen said this is awesome because we get to see how you problem solve. And really that's what a lot of developing is, you know, when I'm developing a painting, it's like, okay, I have an idea. And the idea, I think that a lot of times people think an idea is the completed painting, but it's really not. Like with the lavender field that I showed you, my idea there was to do a sunrise. That was it. I generally knew what colors I wanted to use for the sunrise, but I didn't know anything else. I had no idea what else I was going to do with it. So it's problem solving. Okay, I'm going to have a sunrise. I'd really like the sun to be kind of peeking over, you know, over something and casting light rays. I want light rays. Okay, well, a mountain is probably going to be the easiest and most convenient thing to put in there. Okay, so now we have a sunrise with its light rays and a mountain. What's under that mountain, you know? And then from there, it's like, it's really like putting together a puzzle that doesn't exist, if that makes any sense. And what you guys are seeing here with this country road that we're doing, honestly, it's a lot of the ways that I work. I'll take this and kind of see it through until I've completely destroyed it, or I'm just tired of it, or I get another idea, and then I'll pick it apart and say, okay, I like this element, I like this element, I hated this element, but if I change it like this, then I'll really like that, and then I'll do it again. And so it's quite possible that we could end up with a painting just like this one, so we'll see how that goes. But that's kind of what like having an idea is like for me. It's something very vague, and then I have to problem solve around it and piece the whole thing together until I finally have a painting. Let's see. Yep, practice and time. Exactly. Oh, yeah, I told Deb I told you all to put your OCD in timeout. Deb's OCD is freaking out about it. Is it because the road is straight off the canvas at first curve? Oh, that it's going off of the canvas so far, Deb. Yeah, because I took that first curve way far over, because I was trying to be all dramatic and show you how, you know, how curvy you can make a road, and you really can't. You can make it as curvy as you want. It's all about how you separate the two sides, and the interior curve has to be a tighter, sharper curve than the outside curve. And if they're the same, if it goes like that, it's going to look like it's just going up a hill. Let's go back. So yeah, had I not taken this one out that far, it wouldn't look, it wouldn't have dropped off the canvas so much. So if I were to do this again, how I would do it next time is I'd probably bring this one out farther, maybe about to the 1/3 mark on this side actually, because compositionally that would be really interesting, right? If we have a little house, that's going to be our subject. It's on the 1/3 mark. If I brought another line out to here to about the 1/3 mark and then jetted it off this way, that could be really interesting. Kind of covers, you know, the whole 1/3 top of the canvas. So I'd probably bring it out to here and then curve it around and then sharpen it and bring it back somewhere around there. But yeah, it's just because I didn't take this first line out far enough. Probably I should finish the road before we move on to the grasses. But do you guys want to see something I've been working on? I'm super like nervous to show this to anybody because I've I've never painted anything like this before, and it's so far away from being done. It is so far away from being done. So I don't want you to look at it and be like, that part looks stupid. Because that part's probably still got at least a week's worth of work on it. Is it too late to change it? No. I could change it again. I would just end up painting over, you know, all of that other area, which would be fine because I haven't painted in the grasses or anything. But no, you could still change it at this point. Anyway, so I've been working on this painting now and not every day, as much as I possibly can, once to twice a week. But a couple times I spent 6 to 8 hours on it in one day. So, I mean, there's a lot of hours into this painting. Vincent, show it. Yeah, he's seen it. Anyway, just know that I think she's only about halfway done. Maybe not even halfway done. There's still a lot to do. Okay, I'll show you. I'll quit teasing. Okay, so I did use a reference photo, but it doesn't actually look much like the reference photo, which is perfectly fine because I didn't want it to. I just wanted to use the reference photo for proportions and where shadows and highlights are and everything. So let me get over here so I can see because I can't see from there. Okay. I'm so scared to show her to you. And before you ask, no, there will be no tutorial on this. Like I said, I've been working on this for a couple of weeks, and it's got a couple of weeks of work left on it. So, there she is. Yay! My lady. I have no idea what I'm going to call her, and her eyes are not done. I know that her eyes look cartoony and flat, and they're really just blocked in there. So there's nothing on this painting that I'm like, well, that part's done, but everything around it isn't. Nothing is done. So anyway, that's my lady. I'll show you guys how she's coming along as I keep working on her. And once she's completely done, I'll probably post a picture of her somewhere. Who is she? She's just my lady. I did use an image of Clara Bow and she's an old silent era film star. I did use an image of Clara Bow for her pose, but it's obviously changed. It's not the same. So, oh, thanks you guys. She's far from perfect, but I'm so in love with her. So, yeah. I'm excited. She's my first attempt at a realistic portrait. So, yeah, she makes me very happy. Okay, so I think our road is dry. Should we keep working on our road? And I'll tell you guys some secrets while we work on our road. Yay! I like secrets. Okay, so let's see. I don't have any secret things I can show you right now. Well, I mean, I do, but not the ones that I really want to tell you about. Okay, so you guys all know my 5/8 inch and my 1/2 inch angle brushes, yeah? Well, I have ordered, we'll see. Sometimes my brush manufacturer is like, boom, on top of things, and other times he's like, yeah, I'll do that. 6 months later, I'm like, are we still doing that? So we'll see. But I recently ordered a 1/2 inch and a 5/8 inch Filbert and Bright as well. So as soon as I can get prices on those, we'll get those ordered and hopefully manufactured very quickly. I also ordered some larger round brushes because right now our number 6 is the biggest that we've got. I ordered an 8 and a 10 also, mostly for watercolor. I doubt I'll use it much in acrylic, but maybe. Who knows? So I'll keep you guys updated on that. I have a few other brushes that I'm testing out too. If I get an opportunity to use one today, I will. Can't find the brush I want. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to use my number 8 bright, and I need a little more matte medium. And I need a little more burnt umber. Oh, you guys can't see that at all. It's weird painting on or using paper plate for a palette again. It's been so long. And I love my glass palette, but there's just not room over here with my computer and my whole setup. So, okay, so this is just kind of our underpainting for our road. So now we can start kind of building the shadows and highlights. Now, I know that a lot of you guys hate it when I'm getting hiccups. Sorry, guys. I know I get hiccups every time we're on the air together, don't I? I think you guys probably think that I'm like hiding burps, which is not true. You guys hate it when I tell you not to worry about light source, like where your light source is coming from. Put the highlights and shadows wherever you want to. But unless you can specifically see your light source, you can just make it up as you go along. So in our painting here, our sky is really just kind of, it's just a pretty much solid color. We don't have a definite spot in our sky where our light is coming from. So for all we know, our light is coming from over here and behind us, or maybe it's coming from directly behind us, or it's coming from over here, or maybe it's straight up in the sky directly above us. We can make up where that light source is. And then the only thing that matters from there is that you're consistent. That's it. So if I decide to put, let's see, I'm going to grab some yellow. I'm going to tone it down with just a hint of purple because we're going to do this in the distance. That was more than a hint of purple. That's okay. We'll throw some white in there. We're going to call this the highlight color for the distance. So if I decide that my road is going to be highlighted on this back edge, zoom it in there. Whoa, maybe not that much. That's scary, isn't it? Okay. If I decide that my highlight is on this back edge here, then that's perfectly fine. I can do that. I can just make that up and decide that. And then I just want to make sure that it's the same. So as it comes around here, if this part's in shadow, then you want to make sure that, this is kind of a hard one because the shape of our road. If this is in shadow, it means our light source is over here, okay, kind of shining this way. So remember with the tree where I said, put your hand like that, and whatever you really touch is what's going to have your highlight on it. So this part of the road might have the highlight on it. I'm going to kind of do my little thing like I did, kind of coming up about like that. And this is just not the right color, but we're going to go with it. And I'm kind of losing the directionality. I didn't like the directionality, so now I'm going to break it up. So as I come around this way, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be highlighted right there. And really all the stuff on this other side is going to be dark. Where it's flat, it might come out a little bit more. Let me mix up a little bit more of my color. I've got you zoomed in pretty close there so you can't see. And it's okay to start with something, to just say, I don't really know where my light source is. I'm just going to kind of start and put it on there because you can change it. If you're like, oh no, it would be all bright right here. Okay, well, go put it in there. Or if you come back and you're like, no, it's going to be dark right here. Put the dark over top of that. There's nothing that says that just because you started doing it one way, that you have to finish doing it that way. It's like with my lady there that I showed you. The highlights and the shadows on her face have gone through so many versions. So many versions. I made it super, super dark. There were areas of her face that were almost completely black. And, you know, I lightened them up, or there were areas that were super light that I darkened. You can change it at any time. See, I'm getting rid of the direction. I tend to do that a lot, kind of paint in directional brush strokes. It's carried over from when I started painting. I did that a lot. And the more experienced I get, the more I realize that directional brush strokes are really good when you need to insinuate the direction that something moves. But if it's obvious, the direction that something moves, and you do directional brush strokes, you're really going to make it look flat and boring. So this road, for example, we know that it's moving like this. We can see it. The outside says that's how the road is moving. So if I put, I'm trying to grow my hair out and my bangs are starting to make me crazy. So if I put the lines in the road, it's going to kind of make the road look really hilly, or, you know, it can throw off my perspective altogether. So instead, what I'm going to rely on to give me the directionality that I want in my road, I'm just kind of mixing random colors here, guys. What I'm going to rely on to give me the directionality that I want in my road is my colors. You know, if I put something dark right here, let's say I change this so this part is very, very dark, and then it, you know, fades up into this lighter color, then that's going to give you directionality. It's going to say that this part here is pushed down, it's recessed into the ground, where this part here, it's raised up, it's catching more light. So I don't have to make line, you know, that's just going to make it look like a sunlit bump. So I'm kind of back to that flat. My brush is kind of flat and just kind of, and that's helping me keep a little bit of texture. It's helping show those layers underneath, and it's kind of making it look like a little bit of a grassy road, and I kind of like that. It's not what I was going for in the first place, but I'm open to things happening and changing on their own as I paint. I hear from a lot of people, I hear it all the time about, well, I had this idea, but this isn't, you know, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. So if that happens to you a lot, stop having ideas and, you know, trying to execute those ideas. If you don't have anything specific in mind, you can't be disappointed, right? That's what I think. So really the only time I paint with a very specific idea of exactly what I'm going to do, the only time I paint like that is when I'm recording a video, because I have to have some amount of that when I'm teaching you guys what to do. It's like right now, I can kind of tell you what I'm doing, but at the same time, I'm making it up as I go along, and I'm going to change it. It's going to change, whether I paint over it or, you know, whatever. But for me, there's something so exciting and refreshing about saying, okay, I have a general idea, and I'm just going to see it through to the end. And it may turn out to be something completely different, something I had absolutely not intended, and that's okay. I'm open to it. And just see what happens. And, you know, usually when I paint like that, things that I never would have expected happen. And, you know, it's not always good. Sometimes it turns out like crap, but sometimes I'm blown away with what happens. And that's what actually happened with my lady. All I knew was I'm going to try a portrait. I'm just going to see it through to the end. I don't ever have to show this to anybody. I'm still just mixing up random colors. I'm really doing versions of the cadmium yellow, the raw sienna and little hints of the Diox. But it's really just a very random, loose mixture. It's different every time. But yeah, I used that image as a, like I said, to kind of get the pose down, because drawing people and knowing how to insinuate things like the curvature from the nose to the cheek or the shape in the neck, knowing how to insinuate those things, I just don't know how to draw them because it's not something I've put time and energy into. So that's why I used the image, but I had no idea how she was going to turn out or if she was going to turn out or anything. I just kind of went with it. See what happens. Let's go chat with you guys because I haven't seen you for a minute. I need to make sure that I haven't lost you all. Okay, how's everybody doing? All right, no questions. You guys are just listening to me rant. And you know how I feel about layers, so I'm going to keep building some layers in this road because I can see that if I keep building these layers, I think I could come up with some really exciting things. And so I kind of want to push that and see what happens. Let's pull a little more yellow into there, a hint of white. Let's gray it down a little bit with some purple. Okay. Matte medium. And I'm kind of going to do the same thing. I should probably move to a smaller brush for back here, but I'm not going to. I'll just use the corner of it. Still not trying to stay in that line. And there's no point, right? I haven't painted anything around it yet. I can get rid of anything. But see, this is what I was talking about. You can see it already. If you see right in here, this spot, because it's dark, and this spot because it's light, this seems like dirt. To me, anyway, it kind of looks like dirt that's like pressed down. And this is like a clump of grass that's up higher. That's how it feels to me. And there's no directional brush strokes giving us that impression. It's just the colors, just having the light next to the dark. Let's pull in a little bit more yellow. Do you like how this is almost looking green? Kind of insinuated green, even though I don't have anything on my palette that would make anything even remotely green. But we'll brighten that a little bit. Just pulled a little extra yellow into it. Make sure I kind of take it into there too, because I don't want, you know, like a hard line where one color stops and another color begins, because that's gonna look awkward and that will draw attention and it can confuse your viewer. They're like, why is there a line there? What? I don't understand what I'm looking at. Let's go even brighter. We're starting to move closer to us so we can start to kind of pop these colors a little bit more. Pull some of the sienna in there. Get a little bit more of a lively brown. A little brighter. Maybe a poke, just a tiny poke of white. And some more matte medium. Isn't that crazy how green that looks? So we'll take that all the way off the edge there. That's going to help remind us that this is a nice wide road. It's not wider up here than it is here. So you want to make sure you take that all the way off there. We're still working on our highlight area, so that's why I'm still using quite bright colors. We'll get some shadows going on in there in a minute. Oh, that's pretty thick. I want it a little thinner than that, so just a matte medium. Still pretty thick, that's all right. I'll just lighten my pressure. If your paint is very, very thick and you feel like you're just covering everything, then just lighten your pressure. You don't have to wipe the paint off your brush. See, I've still got tons of paint on my brush, but just by lightening my pressure, see, I'm not laying down very much, but with some heavier pressure, I lay down a ton. So pressure, pressure, pressure. I know, I gripe at you about pressure all the time because it's so important. Pressure is really just about everything. I just picked up some matte medium there. If you're not using matte medium, you can use water. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, for something like this, I just like the texture of the paint with matte medium better than water. I don't know why that is. With basics, I actually prefer water over matte medium to, you know, in just normal everyday use. But for the heavy body, 100%, I way prefer matte medium over water. I'm just gonna go check on you guys. This is mesmerizing. Good. Oh, hi Dina, welcome. The underpainting, we use these same colors. So I have Diox purple, raw sienna, cadmium yellow medium, titanium white, and burnt umber. And then the background here is a mix of the raw sienna, the yellow and the white, and then up here is Diox and white. But I didn't clean off my brush in between. And I'm ranting and, you know, as I do. That's what I do, I rant. I'm gonna move my head. There we go. Okay, that way I don't have to keep falling off of the table. Let's keep going with that bright color. I don't want to take this corner down on the left too much brighter. Anyway, I don't want it brighter than this right here. And the reason for that is just like I was talking about with this corner. If I have this corner too light, I feel like it's a drop-off point. So if this corner is lighter than here, I feel like it'll be a drop-off point, and it might feel like a drop-off point anyway. We'll see. And again, I'm going to take that all the way to the bottom because you don't want to, let's see, I don't even know how to explain it. It's something I see a lot with new painters. So like right here, we've got our corner. You know, if we're saying only half of our road is in light. And so sometimes I'll see new painters, they would bring this line around like this and squish it so that it stays in the canvas, so that it stays in the image. And what that does is it tells you right here, the road is very wide, but then all of a sudden right here as it comes around, the road gets really narrow. And right here, if we had that shadow still right here, it would say our road was shaped like this, really narrow, really wide, really narrow. So you want to try and keep that just as consistent as the sides, because that color in the middle is going to do just as much as the outside lines in determining how wide the road is, if that makes any sense. So just like we weren't afraid to say, okay, this part of the road, it disappears off the edge of the canvas. We didn't try and squeeze it around and keep it, you know, completely on the canvas. We let it go ahead and be off the canvas. So we're going to do the same thing with the highlight. So don't be afraid to take that highlight area all the way down, because it does exit, see? If I'm ever saying things that you guys are like, what are you even talking about? Feel free to let me know, because I talk a lot and sometimes I miss what I was saying. I totally forget what I was talking about, or I change subjects, or I try to say something in another way that might be more understandable than the way I just said it, and I end up saying really confusing or bizarre things. So I'm open to your criticisms of my verbalizations. Just be nice about it. Okay, so this is kind of a natural drop-off point, just like I was afraid it was. So I guess what we're really talking about today is how I compose a painting. So let me zoom you out there just a little bit. Okay, so you can see the whole thing. So let's talk about those drop-off points for a minute, and then we'll start working on the shadow areas and connecting the shadows with the highlights. So we established this is a drop-off area, and I'm gonna put a dark color there because your eye naturally wants to kind of like bump off of a dark color. It wants to follow the bright colors. So let's think of it like that. Your eye wants to follow the bright colors. Your eye also likes to follow lines. I'm cleaning brushes, sorry. So it follows the road naturally because of the shape. Stop. Which is why it will bump off of this darker corner because it's following the shape of the highlight too. So knowing that this is a natural drop-off point where I could potentially lose my viewer, they could come, enter at the house, look down the road, fall off the canvas here and be like, cool, great painting, and leave. But I want to make sure that they come back, something brings them back up to here, which brings them back to the house, which brings them back down the road. So it's kind of a loop. So knowing this is a natural drop-off point, rather than making it dark, which wouldn't be very realistic, right? This road wouldn't just all of a sudden turn dark right there, unless there was like a shadow being cast on it, which is something I could do. Or I could have maybe like a fence. How about that? I think that's kind of a cool idea. We could have like a farm fence somehow coming from right here, maybe leading up around, or however we could have a fence that kind of brings the viewer back up this way, or maybe a tall tree that kind of reaches up, and at the point where the tree crosses the horizon there could be something else interesting there, which causes the viewer to look at that, which kind of draws them back over to look at the house and start the whole thing over again. So I think it's important to think about things like that as well. When you're looking at it, you're like, okay, I like what I have going on so far, but I don't know what else to do. Consider things like that. How does your eye move when you look at it? Where would you like to make the viewer look next? Try and keep them in some kind of a loop, That might be completely confusing and nonsensical. So I'm going to go back to chat for a minute. I need you guys to tell me if I'm totally losing you on that. Tan's looks muddy instead of green. You know what, Tan? Mine kind of looks muddy too, but I think that we judge mud. I don't think that mud is a bad thing. I mean, it's a bad thing if you're over blending or over mixing, but like mixing colors that make colors that you think are yucky looking, I don't think that that's a bad thing. Good. Dina likes my rants. Yes. That's good because I always have something to rant about, talk about. I'm not actually sure how I got that to look green. I think it's because the yellow is quite transparent in some areas. So with the purple and brown shining through, it keeps kind of dulling the yellow. So I think that that's why it's kind of an insinuated green. Like if I look at it, it doesn't really look green, but when I look at the entire image on its own, I'm like, yeah, that really looks kind of green. So, so yeah, the color might not actually be green. It's the relationship to the other colors around it that kind of make it feel green. What was I saying? Oh, about composition. Okay. So let's decide. I'm going to let you guys decide. Yeah, we'll let you guys decide. So anyone who wasn't here for the last couple, I know Dina wasn't. I am going to roll our 2 dice. You guys are going to pick an element. What kind of an element? Think about something that would be really interesting that could lead the viewer from that drop-off point in the road. We want to bring them back up to the horizon. So how are we going to do that? So in all caps, put your suggestion, pick a number between 2 and 12, and okay, I have my number. Go. No, I can't do a tree and fence. I think that would be too much. That would be very cluttery, because then in that corner I'd have a tree, a fence, and a road, and that's going to compete with my house. Your attention is going to be focused on where the tree, the fence, and the road all meet, and I think that's too much. You guys, I'm not doing both. It's going to be too much. Dina says fence and 8. A fence. I mean, we can put a tree back there, like in the distance, that kind of helps keep the eye going, but like right there at the road, a tree and a fence would be very cluttered. You wouldn't really know what to look at. All right. Any more? We have 2 fences at 8, a fence at 9, a tree at 7. All right, no more guesses? Okay, our number is 3 again. So that means we have a tree at 7. So we're going to do a tree. Okay. So don't stick your tongue out at me, Eileen. I see that. Let's move my big old head over here, and we'll do a tree. So I think before I do my tree, and I know I'm just kind of painting all the elements halfway. We're doing more of a composition study right now than anything else, but that's okay, because this could potentially someday turn into a real painting that we do a video on. If I know I want a tree here, I would really just kind of be shooting in the dark to just draw a tree on here, because I need to know where do I need my tree to hit to naturally help me lead back to my house. So like if I just start drawing a tree and I do it to here, that's going to be so awkward. To me, that feels like it would force us to stay down in this area. If I do a tree that's really, really big and it goes way up off the canvas, I feel like that wouldn't necessarily help get back to the house. So I want to know where my horizon is before I put my tree in, because that's going to give me an idea of where my tree is going to go. So I'm going to get my pencil and we'll do like let's do like a rolling distant hill. Just very rolling and distant, not like that. I think I would roll this hill down, so see, it intersects the house. And we can have other hills too. We don't have to just have the one that just points straight at the house. We can have one that comes up above it. You know, something like that. So, maybe our road continues. Yeah, let's do that. Our road continues from there. It comes around here. That's what it is. It's our road. Our distant road is helping point back at our house. Okay, So that's where our road ends. So I want the tree, we'll kind of start it maybe right about here. I do this scribbly thing often rather than trying to say, okay, here's a trunk. It looks awkward and then you feel confined to it. So I like to kind of just scribble to kind of feel out the shape that I'm going for and the size of the area that I've got for it. So I'm going to bring it up like that, and I'm going to stop it right about here. So see that little shiny spot? That's where I stopped it. So it comes above my hill, but I feel like as you follow that tree up, if we do it right with our colors and the color of the road and everything, it's going to right back to our house. Eileen's still mad at me with her tongue poking out. Gonna make me cry. Okay, let's fill in our road. So our road back here is pretty distant. We're not gonna see any shadows or highlights in it. We're pretty much done with that. And I kind of feel like my house is in front of the road. So I'm gonna just remind myself of that and just bring the house down a little like that, so that I remember that it's blocking the road, and anything beyond it, we're not really going to see any shadows or highlights. We're just going to see the color of the road. So I'm going to use some purple, some yellow, just kind of get that grayed out brown again, some of that medium. What is something shaking over here? It's making me crazy. Okay, so I'm just going to use the edge of my brush, and I'm just going to kind of generally scrape it in here. See how tight that curve is? And I know that's way too wide for right there, but remember, I haven't painted anything else around it. I would rather have too much road than not enough, and then later be like, oh, my road disappeared. At least if I have too much road right now, then I can keep whatever part of it I want when I paint in the grass. So that is super, super way too wide, and I don't even care. And we'll take it into there, and it disappears over there. So Kathy, you wanted a winding country road. So we have like about as windy of a country road as you could possibly even want. Okay, Eileen's not mad at me anymore. Good. That makes me happy. Let's see. I'm hungry. That just came out of nowhere. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of hungry. Let's work on our shadows. Let's do that. So I'm going to zoom you back in here just a little bit. Got it. I really need to like hire somebody to just come manipulate my cameras all the time. Okay, let's start working on the shadows. And I think I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again because I really can't say this enough, you guys. I hear over and over and over, you know, in many different ways, people saying, well, I messed up on my shadows. Whoops. I messed up on my shadows and highlights, or I couldn't get the shadows and highlights. You know, whether they finished the painting and they're showing it to me and they're like, well, my shadows and highlights look like crap, but I did it. Or they tell me, no, I painted over it because my shadows and highlights were horrible. I don't understand that. Stop doing that. Please stop doing that. Don't do that. There's no reason to do that. Don't settle for a painting, you know, where you're like, well, these shadows and highlights look horrible, but I did it. So fix your shadows and highlights. You can go over them and over them and over them and over them and over them for eternity until you get them right. You know, if we just decide, all right, well, I don't know how to do that and leave it, then, you know, we don't learn anything. Dude, push yourself. Push yourself to take those shadows and highlights farther than you thought you could. You know, if you're not satisfied with it, man, go near black with your shadows. It's easier to bring it back from that than it is to struggle and wonder why your shadows look terrible. Maybe they're just not dark enough. Maybe your highlights aren't bright enough. Push them as far as possible. So I mixed some Diox and burnt umber, and I put just a tiny hint of yellow in it. I'm just going to kind of sketch that, see, just with the tip of my brush. I didn't cover all of that yellowy green color. Very light pressure. I'm not afraid to go, you know, into here. Who cares? Don't worry about that. Go into there. Doesn't matter. I'm using light pressure and just kind of sketching that in. It doesn't matter if it gets out of control. It doesn't matter if it's too big. It really doesn't. I'm just going to sketch that out into here, much farther than I know I want my dark shadows to go. You know, I don't feel like I would see much of my dark shadow because I'm standing here, you know, I'm standing this way facing the road, and my road kind of looks like it's kind of domed up, like maybe these are right here is wheel ruts, and this part is kind of domed up in the middle, which I know it kind of feels awkward, and if I end up developing this into a real painting, I probably won't do it like that because I think that feels awkward, but that's what I have right now, so I'm going to go with it. So if this is domed up, if my road is shaped generally like that, and this has highlight on it, that means that that's facing me and it comes up high. So I can't see the dark side because of the shape of the ground. Now I might be able to see, you know, a hint of the shadow. So I'm just going to kind of insinuate a little bit of that in there. But if I put a hard dark line right there, I don't know what it's going to do to the road exactly, but it's going to kind of flatten it out and make it look strange. But that said, if you're not sure, do it anyway. Seriously, do it anyway. In fact, I'm going to do it anyway because I just told you to do it anyway. So let's put that hard dark shadow right there and see what happens. Pull it out. Maybe it'll end up looking okay. But even if not, I can fix it. You can fix anything in the whole world. Well, you know, if you've got like an awkward composition in the first place, sometimes you might just need to start over. But like your highlights and everything, man, there's no reason to stop just because you don't like your highlights. So see, I have way too much shadow over there. In the first place, it's way too dark. It comes out way too far. It's not actually shaped very good. Because if you notice, my highlight here is pretty consistent width all the way around to there, right? But my road has dramatically gotten wider. So this highlighted area would too. But for now, we're sticking with that. Let's get our dark color in over here. Just a hint of it overlapping there. I'm doing that kind of cursive thing again, where I talked about before that I'm kind of acting like I'm writing in fancy cursive. I've got my bright, it's just flat. The whole length of the bristles are on the canvas, and I'm not really putting any pressure on it. Just kind of scrubbing around, and yes, this will destroy a brush, but I don't care. Have you guys seen how horrible my little filbert is lately? Oh, that poor filbert. He's looking so rough, but I like it. He still works. I feel like I might want a little bit of a shadow right in here. So we'll see. I might end up hating that and taking it out later, but as I'm looking at it, I just felt like it needed something right there. So let's just do that. Yeah, I'm probably going to end up hating that, but that's okay. And this is exactly what I did while I was painting my lady. Just kind of, you know, decide, oh, she needs a shadow here. All right, well, let's go with dark. And just paint it on there, and it's almost black. And I'm like, whoa, that's aggressive. And then little by little, just start taking it away with my, you know, with my lighter colors. In fact, when I very first blocked her out, it was pretty much in black and white and nothing else. You know, the areas where I wanted shadow were black, and the areas where I wanted highlights were white. And all of those things are changeable. Okay, let's see. Which brush is this flat one that I'm using? This is my number 8 bright. Just my number 8 bright. And I gotta preach, yes. All right, guys, what questions do you have? Anything. Let's just chat for a few minutes while I think about that tree. Sometimes when I'm painting, especially when I'm moving from one element to a new element, I have to take a break. I have to kind of take a mental break and think about what it is that I'm doing, or completely not even think about the painting at all. And, you know, you ever go into like candle stores and they've always got that jar of coffee beans, and it's so that after you've smelled all of the candles, you can smell the coffee beans. It's supposed to like clear your palate so you can smell again. So it's kind of the same thing for me. I have to like mentally smell the coffee beans. So completely walk away from my painting. Don't think about it. Don't look at it. Think about something else that has nothing to do with it. And then come back, and it's the same type of thing as smelling the coffee beans at the candle store and then going back and smelling another candle. Now you can smell it. And that's just the way I work. I'm sure that not everybody is like that. Some people I know are just like start to finish. We're just going to get this thing done, start to finish. But that's not how I am. Sometimes when I'm recording, I have to be that way, but it's not comfortable for me to be that way. So yeah, nobody has any questions. I feel like I've ranted quite a bit already. Should I keep ranting? I don't know what to rant about. I'm probably done ranting for now. Okay, so we'll start painting again. There. Okay, let's do our tree. Zoom this out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to use, this is going to be a pretty simple tree because it's really just there for the compositional discussion that we had. I use my 1/2" flat. And I think I need, I'm good. Okay, so I'm going to do this pretty similar to how I did the tree in the Impressionist landscape. Get some purples, some burnt umber, matte medium, and we'll just kind of start right about here with the corner of my brush. It's just the corner. And like I said, very similar to the tree we did in the Impressionist landscape. Just almost like scribbling it around. Remember, I haven't painted the ground or anything, so my tree can get totally out of control, and I can fix it later. Make it a little wider than you think you actually want it, especially if you haven't painted the background yet, because as you paint in the background, you will lose some of your tree. So if you paint the tree as wide as you want it, then you're gonna end up with a skinny little tree after you've painted the background, or you're going to be too afraid to get too close to your tree when you're painting the background, and it's just going to look kind of awkward. So you want a medium-sized tree, paint a big old tree. You want a small tree, paint a medium-sized tree. And we'll just take that up, about like that. Okay, so generally there's our tree. And now can you kind of see how we probably start at the house. When you first start looking at this painting, you're probably starting at the house, especially, well, that's really going to be determined by the colors that we use on the house. You know, if our mountains are darker and cool, a very cool color, and then we use bright, warm colors on the house, especially where it overlaps the mountains, that's going to cause a huge amount of contrast, which is very interesting, and it draws the eye right to it. So that's how we can promise that we're going to have our viewers start at the house. So, sorry, I keep kicking my camera. So they'll start at the house. They're going to follow the road right out of there, come around here. We're going to make this tree, probably not right now, we'll see, but we'll make the tree super interesting to look at, whether it's through the values that we use, you know, really brights and really darks, or whether it's that the tree stands apart from the background because of the hue differences, you know, warm against cool, or saturation, whatever. We're going to have some contrast in the tree somehow that makes you come along the road and see that tree and go, ooh, I'm going to look at that and check that out. And then we're going to do a similar thing in here that's going to, so it's like playing with your mind's ADD. Like, oh, that's shiny, I'm going to follow that. Ooh, that one's shiny, I'm going to follow that. So that's kind of what we're asking our viewer to do here, is be really ADD. Come up here, see the road, be super interested by it, follow it around, and start the whole thing over again. Trap them in a loop. Heck yeah. Cage your viewers. Let's do that. We're going to cage our viewers. We should call it that, except that sounds kind of sounds like assault. Put your viewer in a cage. So maybe we shouldn't call it that. You can have a cup of coffee while painting. I had so much coffee already, but I do have it in my purse here. I have a Thunderbird bar. I don't know if you guys have ever had these before, and this one has whole coffee beans in it. You guys see that? I eat one of these almost every day. Sometimes I really love them, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I need something else. This is not my favorite thing. But yeah, it has whole coffee beans in it. So on days when I've had like 8 cups of coffee before I get to work, I'm like, maybe I'll skip that one today. But I'm gonna eat it very, very quietly while we talk. The package is very loud, but I promise not to be a gross pig with it. I'm starving. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. Let's do our mountains, actually. I don't know what I want to do with that sky. I think I'm probably going to end up changing that sky quite a bit. But yeah, let's go ahead and do the mountains. All right. I think I'm actually going to use... Where is he? Oh yeah, let me show you this. You guys ever seen one of these? A dagger brush. These are pretty fancy. They're kind of my new favorites right now. So we might end up getting a dagger. We'll see. Oops. Excuse me. I have a coffee bean stuck in my throat. I am looking for my poor angry Filbert. That's what I want. There he is. Look at this poor guy. Can you see him? Can we focus on him? He's all frayed out and Oh, so ugly stained. Like the bottom half is it's completely stiff. It doesn't even bend halfway down. But I still love my little, his head is getting loose too. It kind of wiggles a little bit. So, but I will use this brush until it completely disintegrates and no longer functions as a brush in any capacity. We're BFFs. Okay, so I want to, I kind of like the color that I've already got in my mountains here because it's a little grayed out, it's a little on the cool side, which helps push them into the distance. So I think I'm going to mix up a color similar to that. But to keep them looking like mountains, I'm probably going to go a little darker at the bottom and fade it out a little lighter at the top. So pretty much opposite of what we have going on there now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Get some of my purple and yellow and white. A little matte medium. Let's throw a little bit more purple in there. Whoa, not that much purple. That's a lot of purple. Okay, there we go. Let's start with that and see how that is. So I'm going to start at the bottom here. Probably should have done this before my tree. That's all right. See, now it's okay if I go over part of my road because my road was too big anyway. Just going to kind of take that up. I'm not taking it up all the way to the edge of the mountain because I'm going to do that different. But I'm still really kind of using like the edge of my brush, but still kind of that little scrubbing motion too, like what we were doing on the ground here. Are you guys disappointed that in nearly 2 hours, we've only done this much of a painting? I really had no idea what to expect from today. I was a little nervous, but I think this has been good. I've had a good time. You know me, I like to rant. If you guys can get me on a good rant, I'm happy. Hopefully you're happy. So if ever you think I'm not having a good time, just get me on a rant. Turn my day around. Just mixing up a tiny bit more. That's pretty much the same color mixture just to finish out over here. Now remember, this is the distance. Let your horizon be soft, okay? So wipe that out. You don't need a hard horizon there. That's another thing that, you know, if you're newer to painting, you might paint something and say, well, why my horizon looks really close? Why? I want it to look like it's more in the distance. If it's very crisp, it's going to look much closer. Okay, now I'm going to mix just what's on my brush. Didn't clean it off. Just mix it into my yellow so I get a color that's a little bit brighter. And some white. So see, it's really a very similar color to what we had, but it's much more yellow. I'm going to pull just a hint of that in. So the fact that it's a little bit more on the yellow side is going to kind of push it up because it's taking a little bit more light. I think, anyway. I could be wrong. Just across the top edge. And I'm going to use my finger to kind of smooth it in a bit. That looks like crap, doesn't it? It doesn't look very good. Sorry, I probably shouldn't say crap. I'll try not to say that. But I'm not worried. I really don't like those colors, but I think I've told you guys this before. In fact, I know I mentioned it in a video before. I don't remember what video it was though. Sometimes when we do something we don't like, we immediately stop. We're like, oh no, this has to be taken care of right this second. It really doesn't. And if you stop right this second and change colors, it's possible that that one section that got that wrong color is always going to look different than everything else now. So instead, I know I hate this color combination. These colors look awful. They look like straight up yuck. But if I put those two colors there and then I'm like, no, I don't want that, and then I go and remix everything, then not only did I just lose my underpainting, because I'm gonna have to paint over all of that to get rid of that one little spot, but also that one color that I didn't like, it may still shine through and show in the finished product, and then that one little spot in the mountain is gonna look different than everything else. So I already know I don't like this color, but I started it, so I'm gonna finish it because I can paint over it. But then when I paint over it, everything will look consistent. I won't have this one spot that has this weird color glowing through it. At this point, I would probably start considering bringing in some additional colors because my ability to cool these colors off is very, very limited, and it's really relative. So what I mean by that is this color is quite warm. This color is quite cool. But this Diox is actually it's pretty red. So as far as purples go, it's pretty warm. I mean, it's not as warm as, you know, some other purples, but it's pretty warm. It's not a real indigo leaning purple. So yes, this is cooler than this, but really that's as cool as we can go. We don't have the ability to go cooler. And yes, this is warm and the burnt umber is warm, but we're really limited in how warm or how dark we can go with our warmth. So the reason I bring that up is because of the house here. So if I paint my house, and I felt like I struggled with this a tiny bit in the Impressionist landscape because of the limited color palette. I probably should have brought in kind of like a pop color that wasn't used anywhere else for the house. But that's how we're going to make sure that people look at this house before they look at anything else, because the contrast in it is going to be more dramatic than with anything else. So I would probably bring in, I'm kind of thinking about maybe some red, maybe some ultramarine. We'll think about that for a few minutes. Let's see what you guys are saying. Anybody have anything to say? Oh, we do had some people who talked. Let's see. Oh, it's Vince talking about Mr. Moon and Olaf saying hi. Oh boy, okay. I thought we had some questions going on, but we don't. Does anybody have any questions about any of the compositional elements that we've talked about so far? Or how we would handle any of these elements on their own, or, you know, any direction that you have for me, things that you would like to see in here. I know I really need a haircut. Wow, the back of my hair looks so awful. Like everything up front is okay, but the back, I look like Harrison Ford. If you see Harrison Ford in like any movie, he always, let me see if I can see it. In any movie, Harrison Ford, the back of his head looks like that. So I totally have Harrison Ford hair right now, and it's awful. So I need a haircut really bad. Everybody's so quiet. Okay. Let me think about this for just a minute. What other colors could I bring in? I'm going to put a chunk of bar in my face real quick while I look through my bag. Let's see. Mm. Sorry, was that loud when I dunked that down on the table? I kind of feel like I like the idea of using some ultramarine because I really like the contrast between ultramarine and burnt umber. And I think I should get, and I'm not going by any kind of rules here, guys. This is just me just kind of thinking through my process. Some of the ways that I choose colors, sometimes it's based solely on I like this color. Sometimes it's based on, well, this is the only blue that I have. So I guess we're using this one. But sometimes it's based on how I like the way that different colors interact with each other. So for example, on the field, the lavender field that I showed you for next week, I originally started out using alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue in the sky, and I really liked the way that it looked. But then as I started building the lavender, I was like, okay, but I like the way that quinacridone and ultramarine work together even more, and I didn't want to use both quinacridone and alizarin in the painting, so I ended up just going with quinacridone. So, you know, I mean, color theory is awesome to know, and it can be so helpful, but ultimately it boils down to what you decide to do. I think I'm going to go with Cad Red medium. And I think I know what I'm going to do with that sky, because I don't particularly love the purple sky. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Yeah, our mountains are dry. Should we fix up those ugly mountains? They look terrible, don't they? Maybe we should do some grasses. Let's work on the ground for a minute. Decisions. Give me some ideas. What orange, Eileen? Oh, were you suggesting orange? I'm sorry. Give me some suggestions, because I've kind of lost that swooping. How would you fill in the empty part of the ground? Sorry, I did miss that, Kathy. I apologize. That's actually I think that's what we're going to do right now. But I did kind of lose that swooping grass look that I had, that I originally really liked. And I'm okay with it being gone. Like I said, be open to things changing. Be open to, you know, starting with an idea and having it just completely fly out the window. Don't struggle, and try and keep hold of an idea that wants to go away. So let's decide how we're going to do this ground now. How are we going to do this ground now, guys? Give me some ideas. That's really awful taste composition. Coffee flavored fruit and nut bar and cranberry kombucha. It's kind of weird. What if you put smaller bushes, maybe in between the mountains and the ground? It does kind of look like water, doesn't it? Yeah, Dina, we can definitely do that. What I want to do right now is kind of fill in the ground because the road and anything around that is really going to be detail. And so if I kind of put that in now, then I might lose it. But yeah, I agree that some bushes kind of dotting along the road in the distance would definitely help kind of travel our eye from that tree to the house. A pond with some gentle ripples. Oh, girlfriend, I don't know. You might be asking for too much. I don't know that I've ever painted gentle ripples. To me, and this, well, it could just be me. I almost feel like a pond would feel forced anywhere in there. I can't picture in the composition anywhere where I would put a pond that didn't seem plopped into place. You know, I know that this is like a spot, like, oh, you could put it right there. But compositionally, I feel like it would just look plopped. You know, same with like somewhere over here. I just don't see a place where I feel like if it were right here, it would almost be like a trap, like a trap for the viewer. You know, they kind of follow the road and they get to the pond and they're like, okay, cool, checking out the pond. Done. So I think to add a pond, I would have had to have planned that in the first place, especially now that I have the tree in there. I like that idea, but I just don't see how to do it. Eileen says wildflowers. That would be in the details. We can definitely do something like that when we get to the details. Deb, you really got me thinking about a pond. I really like that idea. The only way I can really... No. Yeah, I think compositionally we're just at a place where a pond doesn't fit. Wheatgrass. But Deb, you really do have me thinking about ponds now. And now I kind of want to figure out a composition for a really cool pond painting. Okay, let's go with some wheatgrass type stuff because I think that will be nice and easy. And then I will get to show you a new brush that I've been playing with. I'm gonna need some more burnt umber. I think I need a little bit more Diox too. That's kind of what I was thinking, Donna. Donna said to paint the house and maybe something else will develop. I kind of thought about that. I think I at least want to block in the grass first. Not necessarily finish the grass, but block it in. And once I kind of see the color base for the grass, then we can block in the color bases for the house and kind of spiral around like that, you know, go back to this element, come back to this element. And it keeps getting really hot and then it keeps getting really cold in here. It's that time of year. I haven't even turned on the heater in here today because I didn't feel like I needed it. And now all of a sudden I'm freezing to death. Okay. So let's go ahead and yay, a new sample brush. So I got a lot of requests for the natural hair fan brushes. So I have a few of them that I'm messing with. And this one has actually been really fun, but I don't know about it just yet. See, it's kind of got like a funny angle to it where this one's more like a fan. So this one's kind of cool to use on the edge, but I don't know. We'll see. It's a little bit more of a specialty brush that I can't see using a ton of, but who knows. Okay. So I wet my fan brush in the water and I'm gonna get some purple. And I'm gonna mix it with my burnt umber. Just kind of spiral it in there, get it mixed up pretty good. Nice dark color. With a fan brush, I do like to use water. I feel like it gives me a little bit of a better flow with the paint than matte medium does. So kind of squish it, get it all in there, and then use the tip of the brush to kind of scrape backwards so that you can get as much of the paint at the tip of the brush as possible. And that actually I think is going to be a little too dark. Let's put a little poke of yellow in there. Maybe a little more water. We'll thin this down pretty good. Am I not getting into my water? There we go. Okay. I think this color is going to be way too dark. That's okay. I'm just going to use the tip of the brush. So let's see if I can angle this so that you can see. So I'm not using my fan brush flat. See how I'm just going to touch the tip of it. It's almost like at a 90-degree angle. So I'm just touching the tip of it to the canvas. And then just kind of lightly start flicking up, see? Just enough pressure to get the shape of some grasses. As it starts to wear out, don't push harder to get to that paint. Turn it, and now I'll use this corner, where I can even turn it as I go the whole time. Just kind of get this outlined here. I know you're looking at that going, that color's ridiculous. And you're right, it kind of is. That's okay. Flip it over the other direction. You can kind of flick it out in an arc like that. See how the grasses can look like they're blown that way? Or you can kind of like that, kind of go both ways. Get one of those fields that looks like it's been wind whipped. I'm really just doing texture here, introducing the color and building the texture. Don't judge the color. I'm not worried about my tree. Why? Because this is practically the same color as the tree, and the tree isn't done either, right? The tree still needs highlights and all of that. Right up over the edge of the road there. Nothing says my ground is completely flat and featureless like stopping right at the road. Go right over it. Okay, so another thing before I get carried away back there is, remember, just like our road, as things move away from us, they get smaller. Same goes for the grass. So, just getting some more paint here. Don't forget about over here. We've got some over here too. So down here we had, fairly long grass strokes. As we move away, they're going to get shorter. Shorter, shorter, shorter. Don't all of the sudden get shorter and continue to overlap. You don't want to be able to see where the shortness starts. Just start. See, times like this that I wish I could put you guys in time lapse, because this has to be boring. Okay, right here, see how short my brush strokes have gotten? Quite a bit shorter. I think they're still a little long for this far out, but it's my base color, so it's fine. Okay, now we are quite in the distance here. So I'm not going to hold my brush like that anymore like I was. I'm going to hold it a little bit more like this. And I'm not going to like streak. I'm pretty much just going to kind of start touching very, very lightly. You can come and streak over top of it right there where it meets. Same thing around here. Make sure these all overlap. Sometimes when we do fan brush work, I'll see people who use the fan brush and they're like, oh, I hate the fan brush. It doesn't do what I want it to do. And I see, and they've gone like that. And then it looks like a bunch of eyelashes all over their canvas. So when you're doing your fan brush, you want to make sure that everything, because it will look like an eyelash, and that's unfortunate and awkward. So I'm just very lightly touching the very tip, and see I'm kind of going over the same area, over it and over it and over it. And really right there, I was only using this part, just, let's see right there, just that corner, not the center. You don't have to use the center, you can use an edge. And see, all that does is introduce the texture. I probably should have started with a darker underpainting. Not the color that I'm using right now, but the color that I'm putting it on top of. But it's okay, we'll see what happens. Like I said, we're just kind of, this is almost like the working out of a painting phase. Another thing I'll do a lot when I'm working on a painting that I think a lot of people probably don't do, and I don't know if it's out of fear or out of, I don't want to ruin it. What if it turns out good and then I ruin it? But I think someday you get over that. I'm certainly over that. One thing I'll do when I'm working on a painting is, like, I might start the field doing it like this and then decide, oh, what happens if I use a different brush? So let's try it with this brush. Or what happens if I just do it a different technique? So then my field ends up with like 15 different patches that all look completely different and none of them are finished. And that's 100% okay to do. You can do that. I've told you guys a million times before, there's no reason that every time you sit down at a canvas, you have to expect a masterpiece. And that's not me saying, oh, well, don't expect a masterpiece, because that's not going to happen. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, you can't take away the possibility that you're going to do a painting that you don't love, that you're going to make mistakes, that you're going to hate what you do, You can't take that possibility away because you're kind of handicapping yourself. You have to be willing to sit down to a canvas and go, let's see what happens. It's probably going to suck. That's okay. But to take the little lessons that you learn from it. Sorry, I was holding my breath there for a second for that little narrow spot. Take the lessons that you learned from that painting on into the next version of it and keep doing that until all of a sudden you're like, okay, I know exactly how I'm going to do this part, this part, this part, and this part. And now I am thrilled with this painting. I know that you guys get sometimes, not, and when I say you guys, I don't mean every single one of you, but I know that a lot of you guys get really frustrated when you've got this idea, or maybe you watched a tutorial, or you've got a reference image, something, and you're like, oh, I'm going to paint this, and it's going to be incredible, and you paint it once, and you're like, oh, it's horrible. I'm never going to be able to get this. I'm not getting any better. Why can't I paint? Blah, blah, blah. Well, you need to understand that I think that I think that for the most part, most people do different versions of a painting before they do the final version. You know, I certainly do. And any painting that I kind of just start and I'm like, we'll just see it through. Chances are I'm not going to like it at the end, and I'll think, well, I should have done this different, or well, I'm going to do this different next time. You have to be willing to let yourself fail, to not like what you paint. Yeah, I know I rant that one about you guys constantly. Eileen likes the colors with the underpainting right now. Oh, the contrast with it. It kind of looks like sand, doesn't it? It kind of looks like on like Antelope Island here. Any of you who were here in October, I don't know if you got to go to Antelope Island, but there's some areas where the ground is very sandy, like beach sand, and there's plants growing up out of it. So that's always been really weird to me to see like beach sand with plants growing out of it. But that's kind of what it looks like to me. How does that sandy feel? Okay, are you guys bored yet? You bored of me? Are you sick of me? And now the road isn't looking like a road, it's looking like a very narrow golf green. Some guy's gonna come by on a golf cart any second. What should we do next? Give me some ideas. Is everybody painting along? I know Tan said she was. No? Okay. Let's go back to it then. See, this is probably why I will never do live videos on the rig, because you guys probably won't learn anything, and I'll be like, hey, let's forget about that part. We don't really need to finish painting today. You guys learned stuff anyway, you know. It probably won't be the best painting experience if I do live videos for everybody. Let's see. Let's start brightening some of those up a bit. I'm gonna grab some of this yellow that is seriously getting dried out. And a little more burnt umber. Yeah, there we go. I like that color. Let's throw a little extra water in there. I swear, I don't think my water jar is very full because I keep dipping into it and not getting anything. Okay, there we go. Okay. So this color kind of fits in with the green from the road. So I'm just going to let it go, kind of overlap it a little bit. I'm applying this a little bit heavier than I did that purple. Still kind of using the, you know, kind of swooping it in one direction or another. And we can change our color a little as we go. I'm going to throw a hint of white in there, just a little hint, just to get some variation. So even though I mixed up that color, you know, I pre-mixed that color, whenever I go back for more color, I intentionally pull in another color that's just a little bit different. Maybe a little bit of white, a little more brown. A little extra water when you start getting too much of the canvas showing. That little texture. Speaking of canvas, have you guys noticed, well, I guess just last week was the first video. I've been using different canvases lately. Somebody, I know it was somebody here. Was it Deb? Was it you? Somebody commented and said, are you using a canvas board? And I was like, no. What makes you think that? And I went back and looked at it, and I was really surprised. I'm like, oh, that does look exactly like a canvas board for some reason. But a couple of you noticed that I've been using different canvases. And I actually have been using the Blick Studio canvases that you can get on Dick Blick's website. And I love them. I have used them on and off for a few years. So this isn't the first time I've used them, but I got tired of my Michaels not having the 12x16s or having them, but not when they're on sale. And I refuse to pay full price for Michaels canvases because they're not the best quality in the world. So I finally just broke down and ordered some Blick ones. It seems so much more convenient to be able to go to the store and buy them. So I ordered some Blick ones, and the very first one that I pulled out of the box and painted on, I was like, oh, I forgot how smooth and awesome these canvases are to paint on. So if you guys hate the Michaels canvases, if you're looking for a canvas that you like better, try the Blick Studio canvases. They're really not much more expensive. I would say they're about the same price. I just put a little bit of white in there. They're really about the same price as the Michaels canvases when the Michaels canvases are regular price. And I'm talking about like the value pack ones. They're pretty close to the same price. So much better quality. And the weave and the texture of the canvas is so smooth and nice. Takes the paint really, really well. And we have like no dimension in here now. Very little. So what if with these things, with these, you guys can't see that at all, with these live paintings that we're doing, what if, this is just an idea I just had off the top of my head, so feel free to say, no, that's a stupid idea, or yes, I love that idea, or I have no idea what you're talking about. That's okay too. What if we took the painting that we do here and, it's something that we kind of develop throughout the month. So, on Patreon or in the Facebook group, you guys can post your versions and change it, kind of take some of the lessons that I talked about where I said, well, I would change this, or I would do it this way now, or, whatever. Don't try to mimic this exactly. Kind of take the lessons we talked about and come up with your own painting, and let's develop it. Excuse me. And then next month, when we do our next painting, excuse me, guys. I hope you didn't hear that. That was a little gurgly throat action there. We can either do like an updated variation of it, or we can just talk about it, or whatever. But since this is our first one, we really can make this whatever we want it to be. We can do whatever it is that we want to do on a monthly basis. Oh, Deb left us for a little bit. 10 says, now it looks like a lavender field. It kind of does, huh? And Eileen said to do some flowers, so maybe that's what we'll do. The Blick Studio Cotton, let me look, and I can't look on my computer or it will knock us off the air. Oh, hang on, I think I have a shortcut for it. I do. I just searched for Studio Canvas, whatever Canvas is. Let's see. Yes, it is the Blick Studio Cotton Canvas. I typically just buy the 3/4 inch because it's the cheapest option. But the frames, you know, the Michaels frames, they feel very lightweight, very thin. So often they're tweaked. They're not even straight. You know, the corners get all bulky, the Michaels canvases, and you look at it and it's like folded over and it's all lumpy and makes your canvas look like it's crooked or something. Yeah, the Blick ones, the corners are tight and square. The frame is a lot heavier. The wood is heavier than the other ones. It just feels much more sturdy. So, yes, get those. Yeah, Kathy says you'll need to provide feedback so we can learn. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we would talk about it. I could even start like a thread. How about that? So that we're not like kind of rubbing it in everybody else's face in the group. Ha, you guys didn't get to come. I can start like an individual thread, and then we can all post our paintings into that thread where we can provide feedback to each other. So yeah, if that sounds like a good idea, then let's do that. Okay, let's go back to, what am I doing here? My brain kind of came off, I think. It came off. I no longer have a brain. It fell off. Need some more yellow. Let's start working on some brighter areas that will kind of blend this road, whatever it is, that will kind of blend it into the grasses here. Some water. I'm going to start in the same color. There's not a lot of it. See, there's really not a lot of that paint there anymore. And I'm going to get some yellow. That's the best way to really load a fan brush, I've found. I mean, you can go like that, but then, you know, you might get stripes in it if you're mixing colors. So kind of put it flat and just like shimmy it back and forth. Flip it over, shimmy it back and forth. And that really helps to mix the colors and pick up a good load of paint on your brush. I'm going to throw a little point of white in there. See, if I just keep going like that, the white is still really just on that one corner. So I'm going to shimmy it, flip it over, shimmy it, flip it over. And now it's all mixed in with everything else. Right there. See, that color pretty much matches the road. Now we don't have such difference between the road and the grass. I'm just going to put in hints of it here now. See, I'm not covering everything like I did with those last couple of colors. Using the corner so that I can kind of avoid having like eyelashes. But if I do get some eyelash marks, you know, the more layers you add, the more you'll cover that. Now I am starting right here where it meets and kind of following along that line, but don't leave it there because then you're just going to have like this wall of bright green and nothing else going on anywhere else. So you can start there, but then take it up, take it back into here. starting to get there. Kind of looks like a grassy plain, and we can even take some of it over this road, or whatever it is, and completely, or almost completely obliterate it. Or after we're done with the grass, we could come back in with just like some lighter brown paint and just make it look like a dirt road. Just start with an idea and see it through to the end. I think that that's the most important thing. That's what I really want you to get out of this. Because you never know what's going to come out of it. You have no idea what ideas you're going to get, even if you absolutely hate whatever is happening. Yeah, but you might get an idea for something that you don't absolutely hate. Let's just kind of, see, I'm starting sooner. Before I didn't start dotting, like the first color I started right here, and the next color I maybe started right here. I'm going to start dotting a little bit sooner. Just because I feel like I've already kind of started making these grasses a little bit shorter than the previous colors anyway. So starting dotting them a little bit lower. Are you guys falling asleep? Did I knock you out? Bore you to death? I'm just mixing up more of that color. I know you really can't see it. Very light pressure there, just to put some really kind of pop some bright ones in there. I like now that it's kind of looking like there's a good amount of dirt on the ground. You know, it's like some sparse grass growing up through this kind of prairie dirt thing. So I'm going to kind of go with that and see what I can do to keep that look. Oh, I moved over here and there we go. It's so hard for me to be able to tell exactly how it looks when I'm painting with my canvas flat like this. If you typically paint flat, if you have the ability to paint up on an easel, whether you're standing or sitting, doesn't matter. But if you have the ability to prop your canvas up somehow, try that. See what you think. You know, having this type of a perspective is a completely different experience than having this type of a perspective. And I mean, it's okay, like in September when I was doing the little 5x7s, because I was standing and looking down at them. And so it was really very similar to having, you know, the canvas propped up. But oh my gosh, I don't know if I told you guys, my neck hurts so bad all of September. Man, and it took me a while to realize what it was, and that it was from standing and, you know, standing like this all day, every day for a month. It really, really hurt my neck. So I like to paint standing up. Probably I don't want to get too detailed with this grass just yet because we haven't blocked in our house yet. Yeah, I like to paint standing up, and I like to keep my canvas right about eye level, like the center of it. I put it so that the center of it is right about eye level to me. That helps to make sure that I'm not hunching too much and hurting my back, or that I'm not straining too much, and hurting my neck. I can pretty much reach everything comfortably if the canvas is centered eye level, unless it's a really large canvas, in which case, then I'll adjust it so that the part I'm working on is eye level. I have to do that a little bit with my lady because that one's an 18 by 24. And so 24 inches, that's pretty big. To get to the bottom, there's a little bit of hunching. To get to the top, there's a little bit of kind of stretching. Just kind of taking a few spots out that are just a little bit brighter. I'm really liking all of the texture in here. And so much of that is due to the different layers, the dark, the light, everything. So, don't get frustrated when, after I put down that first layer, there was some good contrast between the underpainting in it, but it just looked like brown on there. And then the next color didn't have much more dimension than that. But when you keep going, you start to build that dimension, especially when you drastically change your colors. Like we did here, we went from super dark, leaning purple to this much lighter color that leans yellow. And so they kind of help play off of each other. And just because we're now onto this yellow color doesn't mean we can't go back and add in that dark color. I'm going to pop just a hint of this over the edge right here. I want to take away that hard dark line. Remember I said I didn't like that line? I still don't like that line. I'm going to pull a little bit of this grass into the road, or whatever it is. Oh, I like that a lot better. Now I'm kind of glad that I did the dark there, because, yeah. What do you guys think about that? Do you like that better? The one thing that I think will help me like it even more is if I change this color. I feel like back here, I'm pretty happy with how that road looks. I don't think I want to change it. I like it. But as we get from about right here in the light area, from right here over, I feel like this is too green. I want to brown it down a little bit. And then maybe I will pull some of that grass in here. Let's see how we have it darker there. It's because I added that dark line, right? And then I put the bright green on top of it and above it, but then also down in here. So it kind of makes that grass look taller, and thick. And yeah, I like that line now. And so that's another reason I tell you, don't go trying to fix something right when you do it. If you're like, oh, I hate that. So what? Leave it alone. Yeah, I like these little brighter pops. They'll kind of be like some little yellow wildflowers, like some yarrow or something. I think that's what it's called. I might be dumb. I don't really know flowers. I kill plants, not intentionally. I love plants, but I apparently don't love them enough because they don't live for very long in my presence. All right, let's see what's going on with you guys over here. A dirt road would be cool. Yeah, I think that's kind of the direction that I'm going to go. Yeah, we'll see if we might be able to do some ruts. Tam's not painting anymore. Come back to it later. Okay, yeah, let's make this road look dirt because I really like what's going on in here. And I know that with just a couple of details, that'll be super simple. With a couple of details, I think this field is going to look great. This, not so great. So I'm going to brown this down a little bit more, make it look a little more like dirt. And then maybe we'll finish our tree before we finish the field. We'll finish the tree and block in the house. Okay, so I'm going to put you into time lapse. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. That would be cool, though, wouldn't it? I think that would be cool. If I could do that live, then we could have our cake and eat it too. You guys wouldn't be bored, and I wouldn't feel like I have to rush, so I don't bore you. What colors are we going to use here? Let's do... I'm get a good amount of white. Some of my... I can never remember the name of this color. Raw sienna. Mix it with some burnt umber. We'll see what happens. And there's a little hint of that yellow in there, and that's okay. I think that's a little dark. And that's a little warm. Let's pull a point of purple in there. The problem with brown paint in a tube is a problem that I have with like green paint in a tube. It just feels so vibrant to me. It doesn't feel natural, you know? And it's so easy to make brown, and it's so easy to make green, but I do like to keep brown in my paint supplies because brown is really good to use for mixing. You can really get some incredible colors and effects by mixing brown into other colors. So I think typically I probably wouldn't be using browns here for brown. I would probably mix it from, let's see, what would make a nice brown here? Ultramarine and cadmium orange. Make a really nice brown, really lively. Some yellows and some purples make a really nice brown. Some don't make browns that I like quite as much, and some, you know, like a deep violet and cadmium yellow actually make kind of a ruby color that is really exciting. Maybe I'm just a nerd. I like colors, but that color combination was really exciting to me. But yeah, I probably wouldn't be using brown for this if I were doing this in an actual tutorial. I have very little paint on my brush right now. I'm really just kind of holding my brush like that. That's about the pressure that I'm putting on my brush. It's just resting on the canvas. And I only have my thumb over it so that when I move my hand, my brush actually moves. So just letting it hold itself on there and just holding it enough so that I can push the brush around. There's not a lot of paint on my brush. I'm not depositing a lot of paint, but it's kind of dusting things out. Because I don't want a hard line. I don't want to come in here and go, there's my road. That's not what I want at all. I want where the road stops and where the grass begins, I want that transition to be really subtle. Really, really subtle. Just pull a bit of that up into here. We'll insinuate a little bit of it here. There's not much. Let's liven that up just a little bit. How should we do that? Stop saying you guys are bored. Okay, I will. I will stop saying that you're bored. I'm just throwing a little hint of yellow in there. It's still mostly the mixture of the different browns and whites. Sometimes I feel like in videos anyway, when people are watching my videos, that sometimes people get way too hung up on trying to get the exact paint color mixture that I'm doing. But you know, the thing is, I'm doing the same thing, very little pressure on my brush. The thing is that for the most part, my color mixtures are very sporadic and very random. I'm very rarely looking for a very specific, very exact color. I'm really just going, okay, I know I want these colors. I'm just going to grab some. If it's too dark, I'll add some more white or whatever other color. If it's too light, I'll add some of my dark color back in. And I know that, I mean, I guess that must seem like a magical process. If you're a little bit less experienced at color mixing, really that's all there is to it. I'm just like right there where I just pulled in some of the raw sienna. It was because I thought, well, I want my color to be a little bit different. I mixed yellow over here last time. What's going to make it a little different? Maybe some raw sienna. We'll throw some in there. If it's not different enough, okay, well maybe a little hint of purple. Let's see what happens there. Okay, maybe that's a little too dark. I can choose between yellow or white. Maybe let's try a little speck of white. Okay. That's what my color mixing decisions boil down to, guys. Seriously. I need it to be different. Okay, which one of the colors on my palette will make it different? Cool, that's what we're gonna go with. See, still that same thing, and look, we're starting to get some of that texture back. Little bits. Maybe the road was wet recently, or, you know, who knows? Doesn't really matter. It just looks a little different, and that's all that matters. Again, I just mixed up something. It was just a very loose mixture. Probably a little different than my last color. I'm going to put it over here so I can see there. I'm going to kind of cross over into that darker color a bit too. Yeah, I'm watching my painting on my computer. I'm not watching my hand do it. Okay, now I'm coming up around. I want to change it a little bit, but I feel like I'm almost done with the road, at least for now. I can always come back later. Oh, I didn't realize I picked up quite that much white. Throw a drop of purple in there because I put quite a bit of yellow in. I don't want it to be real bright. Let's try that. All right, we're turning off the phone. Sorry, guys. Power off. And yes, my phone makes a raven sound. I don't know if that's surprising to anybody. I do like ravens. I'm starting to be really happy with the way this road is turning out. What do you guys think? I think we might have a little bit of a shadow back here from our tree. So let's try it. I just picked up some purple, some brown, made it a hint more purple. Let's insinuate a bit of a shadow in the road. I'm not going terribly dark. See, I even mixed it in with that light color that I just used. And if it's not dark enough, I'll come back and add some more. It's definitely not dark enough. A little more brown, a little more purple. Can you guys see that? No. I think that might be in a different direction than the rest of our shadows. I think that's better. Let's pull it up through there. Whoa, not like that on the grass. That looks awful. It's okay. See, and look. Remember I said another thing that could help prevent this from being a drop-off point was a big shadow. But I was like, what am I going to put there that's going to cast a big shadow? There's our big shadow and our tree. Okay, let's get a drop of white, little raw silk. Dang it. I just want to kind of break the transition between that shadow in a couple of places. No pressure there. Even dragging a little bit of that lighter color into the shadow. Because remember, like in the Impressionist landscape, the tree might have little breaks in it where bits of the sunlight are getting through. And we can cover up. I can actually see my shadow better on the TV than I can on my canvas. Okay, that's not too bad, except okay, and then let's go a hint darker. I'm just pulling some more Diox into that mixture just to darken it more. My mixture on my brush is pretty dry. I didn't pick up any extra matte medium, and I can feel that that paint's kind of sticky, and that's kind of what I want here. Pretty much in the part that I feel like would be the darkest of the shadow, I'm just gonna introduce some of this really dark color. Very little of it is coming off because it's sticky, and I'm only using my corner, the corner of my brush. I'm not using it flat, I'm using the corner. Okay. Actually, let's introduce a hint of that because that color is quite different. I'm going to introduce just a hint of it right here. Unless you want something to be your focal point, you should make sure that each color that you use is in at least one other place on the canvas. So like the house, I want the house to be the focal point. So it's going to contain colors that aren't anywhere else on the canvas. But this color for the shadow, if it's quite a bit different and I leave it there, it's going to draw the attention right to it because nothing else on the canvas is that color. So I might even come over here in this area that's quite dark and just kind of, ooh, it's getting really windy outside. Loosely scribble in just little hints of that dark color in these areas that I want to be quite dark. See that? No pressure, but it puts down just enough of that color. That was a little too much. It's okay. Let's get rid of that little spot that I felt like was too much. I'm just mixing up all of the colors until I get a lighter color. Let's throw a little more yellow in there. Not too bad. That color's a little different. So I'm just going to pull it here and there throughout. So the best way to make something not look out of place is to put it in many places. So I remember when I used to do paint parties at my gallery, I would tell people that all the time. I haven't said that for a long time. You know, I'd have somebody who said, well, I really like my tree, except this one branch looks stupid. I would tell them, well, that one branch actually doesn't look stupid, but you're right, it looks out of place because it's the only branch on the entire tree that looks like that. I said, just put some other branches on the tree that look just like it, and it won't look out of place, and it'll look nice. And almost every time, I was right. Probably every time, let's be real. Okay, I think I'm done with this road for now. I really could probably layer and mess with that road for a million years, but we've been going for, oh my gosh, we've been going for 3 hours already, and you guys aren't sick of me yet? That's incredible. Let's see if we can finish this up real quick. Okay. Let's work on our house, actually. I'm going to get some ultramarine. And I'll get some cad red. Three hours and this is all we've got done? Wow, I was talking a lot. Okay, I'm using my number 8 bright again, and I'm going to make sure that the house almost looks like I want it to look kind of white, but not pure white because that's going to be boring. So I'm going to grab some white and I'm going to mix it right here, pull just a hint of that ultramarine into it. So see, it's pretty much still white, but it's just got a little bit of coolness to it from that ultramarine. But I'm going to grab a little point of burnt umber because I really love the way burnt umber and ultramarine gray each other out and kind of neutralize the whole thing. That's actually my lady that I showed you. That's what she's painted in is, I know it looks like black and white, but it's ultramarine and burnt umber mixed with white. I'm just going to take it down this side. This is the bright side, remember. That's the bright side. Now for the dark side, I'm not necessarily going to make it darker. I mean, you can, but that's not the only way to say that it's in shadow. I'm going to pull a little more ultramarine in there. I'm going to make it cooler. I can even grab a little more white and make it almost just as light as the other side. But because it's cooler, it will appear to be in shadow more. And let's take a hint of this under our eave here. You can't really see that there on that side. Just kind of slashing colors over it, just until it looks like what I want. I kind of like that, actually. I'm gonna grab a little hint more of ultramarine. I think I kind of like that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're just gonna kind of finish up all the elements we haven't finished yet, and then I'm really gonna let you guys work on it so we can chat about it. Let's get, I just wiped my brush off, I didn't clean it. Let's get some Cad Red, a little bit of matte medium. And so because I didn't clean off my brush, all those other colors are still in there, so it automatically starts to gray down our Cad Red. A little hint of burnt umber. And we'll put in our roof. It kind of looks all funky. Can't really see what I'm doing. Just give it a little texture, some different colors. Can't see it. Oh, he looks pretty sad, doesn't he? Or a little barn, house, whatever he is. It's very sad looking. I feel bad for him. I like that one side, but the rest of it looks kind of not impressive. I think the value on the roof is wrong. That's what I feel like it is. The value on the roof is wrong. Oh, and it's pretty crooked too. That's all right. We're gonna quit obsessing over our little house. We'll just let him be. Give him a door. And then let him sit and think about what he's done. There. Oh, look, he looks a little bit better now that he has a door. Okay. You guys know how to do a tree, because we did that tree in the Impressionist Creek, and that's exactly how I would do it here. I'm gonna go back to my fan brush. Let's finish up the field, and then I feel like we might could call this done for the day. I like, you know, when we were first going, I thought, well, I'm definitely gonna paint over that sky. I'm just getting yellow, that's it, just cadmium yellow. If I feel like it needs to be a little bit lighter, I might throw a little white in, but that's all I'm getting. I thought for certain that I was going to paint over the sky like I did in the Impressionist video that we did recently. I'm just kind of tapping just a little bit here and there, almost like in a line. You know those little yellow flowers that grow on like a thing that kind of comes up like that, it kind of arches up, and then the top where the flowers are is kind of flat. It's kind of what I'm thinking of here. I don't know if that will translate well, but that's what I'm going for. I don't think it's really working, so I'm just going to kind of dot the yellow on. I kind of like the purple now, though, because we've got a lot of yellow in the field, and I feel like the purple's a nice contrast to it. But you can certainly paint it over with some blue or white or you know, whatever you want. So yeah, this is looking not terrible. It's okay if you get a little bit of eyelashes here. I'm making little flowers. Oh yeah, I wanted to pull. That was kind of the whole point of doing the road different, was so that I could pull a bit of those grass textures into it. Yeah, maybe that's all we need. Let's finish the wildflowers. So I'm sure you guys have families that you'd like to be with today too. Not just hang out with me. I know you all love hanging out with me, but at some point the fun wears off, right? Don't yell at me anymore, Eileen. I know I said that you guys were bored with me again. We'll just get a few bright spots out in here. I really like this natural hair fan brush. The only natural hair fan brush I had ever used before. Take some of those up the side of your little building. That will help integrate the building in with the scene. The only other natural bristle fan brush I had used before was just terrible. It was so thin. It seriously looked like, I don't know what it looked like, but it was awful. And it didn't even make a look with the paint like a fan brush. Like it just looked like a scratch. It was terrible. Pretty sure I still have it though, because every brush has value. No need to ever throw a brush away. Okay, I want a little bit more in here. I'm just gonna go a little bit heavier. Yeah, there we go. Heck yeah, go big or go home, right? Much better. I'm really starting to like this now. That was maybe a little aggressive. It's okay. Let's get some white. Yeah. I don't know if there's any opportunity for purple in here. I had fully planned on doing some purple, yellow, and white, but now, and besides, we have lots of lavender this week anyway, don't we? And I will post that to you guys, the lavender video. I'll post that to you tomorrow. I just got to finish up my listing. Look at all of that dimension we're getting in the grass now, you guys. I seriously wasn't enjoying the grass. I thought, this grass kind of looks crappy, but it'll get the point across and, you know, we can change it later, whatever. But now that I'm adding these flowers on here, that grass looks so dimensional. It looks so deep in spots. It looks so barren in others. And like if you were to walk through it, you know, those kinds of fields where the ground and the plant growth on it is really uneven and it's kind of hard to walk through. That's kind of what this feels like to me. Like it would be like that. You know, you step on one spot and it's kind of uneven, and you step on another spot and it's super uneven. the kind of field you don't want to ride a horse through. I grew up riding horses, so I know. You don't ride them through really hilly, uneven fields like this because they can hurt themselves or they can throw you over their head. I never got thrown, thankfully. I kind of like that now. Our tree looks kind of ugly, but what do you guys think? Tell me what you're thinking. Your fan brush ruined your grassland. Is it a very thin one, Tan? Is your fan brush very narrow? Doesn't have a ton of bristles? This one has a ton, man. So many. See, here's another one. This is the same one. It's just a larger size, and I haven't ever used it yet. But look at how dense those bristles are. Can you see that, or is it not? It's not focusing. Come on, focus. Right here. Focus. It's a little bit better, but see how thick those bristles are? There's a lot of them, and it's, you know, a stiffer brush, but once it's dry, because it is natural, the bristles absorb the water. Same exact brush, I've just been using this one, but the bristles become really soft with the introduction of water. So I'm really excited about these fan brushes, and I think I'm probably going to have these put into production because I've really been liking them, and I've been asked for some good natural bristle fan brushes. So here we go. Let's zoom you out a little bit. I kind of like the purple now. What do you think? I didn't think I was going to like that purple sky. And I mean, I think if I were to paint this again, start to finish, I don't think that I would do a purple sky, but I don't hate it. You feel like a windmill is in the distance, Dina. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope that you do that on yours. Good. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed this. I know we didn't end up with like a painting that is, you know, we're going to go hang this on our wall and, you know, share it all over Facebook. It's not a painting like that, but I feel like there are some kernels in here that'll be really exciting to play with together, you know, and then eventually something about it may turn into like a full tutorial. But I hope that it helped. I hope that this helped you guys kind of see the process that I go through in developing. You know, so from here, if this were a painting that I was considering developing for a video, from here I would look at it and I would say, okay, the things I really like about this painting, I actually do like my little house now. I thought he looked really awful, and then I added the door and put the little flowers around the bottom of it, and now I think it looks great. So, you know, like I said, don't be so quick to judge and say, I don't like this part, I need to fix this, I need to cover this up, I messed up. Just go, just work, just do your thing. And when you do something you don't like, go, oh, it's okay, I'll just finish, I'll come back to it later. You know, and we actually talk about this in next week's video too. We need to not be so quick to need to correct that mistake. Just leave it alone. It really doesn't matter. And who knows, when you're done, you might go, oh, actually, I kind of like that. I'm glad that I left that. And if you still don't like it at that point, now is the time to cover it up. But yeah, just go. Just enjoy yourself, learn, paint, do, and then fix later. Maybe, well, let's see, how would I say this? So, you know, details come very last, right? At the end of a painting, details come last. Well, you know what should come right before the details? Correcting errors. Okay, now that I'm done, now I'll fix this, and then I'll do my details. So let's kind of think of it that way and work on that. We paint. When we're done, we error correct, and when we're done with that, we do details. You do not error correct during the painting process. Yeah, I kind of like the purple with the yellow flowers too. I think, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm glad that, oh, you missed the lady, Dina? Dina missed the lady. Oh, then you probably missed next week's painting too. Here, I'll show you next week's painting first, and I'll have it posted to you guys tomorrow. So here's what we're gonna paint next week. I got asked for a sunrise and a lavender field quite a bit over the last couple of months, so figured we'd just do them both in one shot. And my lady is right here. So I hope to get her done in the next couple of weeks. There we go. I've been working on her now for 2 or 3 weeks, so I can really only dedicate about 1 day a week to her, but I try and do 6 to 8 hours on her in that 1 day. So hopefully 2 more weeks or so, and then she should be done. So, okay, sign into chat. Sign into chat. What is happening to me now? What is going on? Okay, there we go. I had to it was like I wasn't even in my own chat room. That's ridiculous. Okay, guys, I have had a wonderful time with you. And if you have questions about anything we covered today, put it in the comments section below. You can still come back and watch this anytime you want. You'll just click the link from the post. You can feel free to bookmark it so that you can come back and watch it later too. And then I will start a thread in the Jams Facebook group. If you're not in there, make sure that you send a request to join it. And yeah, we'll start a thread. You guys can post your paintings as you finish them, and we can kind of discuss it and see where we go with it from there. So unless you guys have any other questions, I think we'll just go ahead and be done for the day. I had no idea that we would go for almost 3.5 hours. That's pretty awesome. And then as we do this more, we'll fall into a little bit more of a routine, and I will know what to expect a little bit more. You'll know what to expect a little bit more, and yeah, we'll kind of get a rhythm down with this. So nothing else, anybody? All right, well, I loved hanging out with you, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. We do have viewing party tomorrow, and it won't be 3.5 hours, I'm sure. So, all right, everybody, I will see you later then.